Index Card RPG has a slew of wonderful monsters in its monsters manual, but there's a few of them that might make game masters a little squeamish. But I want to show you that these monsters are not broken and that they can be included in your game as written. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Kiln, and look, I'm a VTT token, but that's beyond the point. What I want to show you today is that these monsters that when you're looking through ICRPG's monster manual can appear broken, or you're like wonder yourself, how can I include these in my game? Are you mad? I want to show you that these monsters are not broken, they can be used as written. You just have to think about them a little bit differently and use them in a different way than just dropping them into a combat or having a slugfest with your players. I want to start with the second monster in the monster manual, which is an angel, and this angel is insane. It's got +6 to its stats, +4 to its effort. It's got a sun sword, which does ultimate damage and it ignores armor, which essentially means it's just rolling and gets a flat 10. Strikes all close enemies, so everyone involved, natural 12s explodes. Then you have this Sun Fury, which is essentially the sun sword again, except it increases the range to a mile, so there's no running away from this thing. You got Radiant Nova, so it sends demons, undead, infernals, and even evildoers. They must make a charisma roll or flee for their next 1d4 turns. If the heroes are the heroes they say they are, this probably won't affect them. The big one is you got Judgment. It chooses a single creature, and in 1d4 turns, it's just torn apart atom by atom. No save, nothing. Plus, if you look at the description, this thing is indestructible. Where are the hearts? There's no hearts. Players can't fight this thing. You can't kill it. It's indestructible, and in the snap of its finger, it could just cast Judgment and you're gone. How could you include that in your game? Well, again, these monsters that appear broken have to serve a higher purpose than just combat. They have to be included as part of your scene and part of the environment or what's happening. It has to be a challenge that they face, not just a combat. So, for example, if you had some players here who are fighting, goblins, some enemies, some undead, whatever, you have this angel appear. And now this angel has come down to lay down the law, to enact justice. It starts mowing through things. The enemies first. It just starts blasting them with judgment, slicing through them with their sun sword. They flee with the Radiant Nova that's happening. But the thing is, you can include this as, okay, you're killing the enemies, but you also are casting judgment on some innocent villagers over here. Well, the heroes now have to convince this angel that no, I know that they have sinned, they have done their thing, like they are not perfect people or whatever. They're not. Don't do it. Don't stop that. Hey. So this can turn into a charisma contest with the angel. You can prove your innocence, you can prove your worthiness, you can prove your lawfulness. The angel should appear, make a statement, make it memorable. Let them have their moment, and then eventually they're gone. They disappear. That's how you can include an angel in your game. Another one that often gets brought up is the Child of Aztoth, but what makes it really scary is that it takes away things that players hold dear. For example, the moment you're within far, it can cast confusion, and it makes all rolls hard, and it overrides all abilities. Like, this is the final say. But then you also have Spell Eater, which is destroy any intelligent spell used by any of its opponents, and it just removes it from the caster's memory. Then you've got Telekinesis, and it just moves objects, even huge ones, with an int check. So it could grab a boulder, just smash you. It could grab the player, it could smash you, makes an int check, and now it can move things. You've also got Memory Eater, which is kind of a roleplay spell where you remove one key memory from a recent or distant past, which is even more sadistic. You now have this creature that can just go, you don't remember your parents. You don't remember why you're a hero. You don't even remember your friends. And just take that away from them. And then if you do manage to get close enough, any close creature must make a charisma check. And if they fail, they have to offer up one loot to the god as tribute. You're taking away spells, you're taking away memories, you're taking away loot. These are things that are super important to index card RPG characters. How can you include this in your game? Well, the Child of Aztoth, he's a statue, but he's not. He's a living creature. So you don't just stumble upon these things. This is where you have like this corridor, whatever, you're going into this dungeon, and you have this entryway, right? And now the big door that you're trying to get to, the cult ritual, which is happening over here, you can just drop in a Child of Aztoth or two, and now they have to contend with this thing before they go into this even darker cult center layer, whatever, or the big bad, or whoever they're dealing with. Like, this is kind of the precursor But now the question is, how do you get past them? Well, if you just try to destroy them, you're going to lose your loot. Like, these creatures are meant to pose a different challenge than just combat. This is a way that you can change things up and wear down your players in a different way than just having them have a fight here and then a fight here. You can have this be more of a roleplay encounter. Now let's look at the next one. This is one of my favorites. This is the Devil Dust. The Devil Dust is a vicious, vicious thing. It is a cloud of gas. It has no rolls. Its actions depend on its mass, but essentially it's got two things that it does. One, it devours, and two, it keeps growing. So this cloud is moving around, sentient, it's trying to devour things. If anything is inside of the Devil Dust, you roll a 1d6, and if it rolls a 4, 5, or 6, and I would probably have the players roll this, for each volume of gas, the Devil Dust consumes a human or animal that gains one category of volume. This thing is vicious because if you're inside of it, you could be devoured and just, you're gone. How do you include a Devil Dust in your game? Well, you have to make it part of the environment. You have to make it an element of the scene rather than just, I'm going to swing my sword at it, because it doesn't have any hearts. Again, no hearts, nothing to actually fight. So if you're in this scene, for example, you've got this room, what can happen is you have your players and you've got the Devil Dust. Well, the thing is this thing is moving and it's hungry. Instead of going for the players right off, you've got your villagers, you've got your innocents, you've got key NPCs that need to be saved. If you would drop in other elements that it could eat, well, now the players have to contend with, how do we stop it from eating so it stops getting bigger and now we can potentially get out. You can see how these Devil Dusts and these monsters are making scenes a little bit more dynamic. They're making them a little bit more intense, even though they are quite vicious. The challenge the players have to deal with is not combat. The challenge they have to deal with is this monster itself. How do you contend with something that isn't killable? How do you contend with something that could kill you in an instant? These are challenges that players often get squirmy about, and game masters get squirmy about making players face these challenges, but that's part of the game. It's adding variety. It's a tool in your toolkit if you can challenge your players in this way. I'm not saying you have to do it all the time, but I'm saying that it's an option. The last monster that I want to talk about is the Mainframe. This thing is steeped in ICRPG legend. Like, this thing is epic. If you know anything about the Mainframe, whether you've listened to RPG Mainframe, the stories that Runehammer has shared, or you just kind of know, Mainframes are awesome. If you drop one in your scene, your players should know how much this means, because the Mainframe does not mess around. This thing does not roll. It is indestructible. There's no hearts. There's nothing. It may just sit there and wait. Just silent, dormant. It could grow. It could double in size. Or it might summon D8 tentacles. It could reveal some kind of vision with all creatures within 1 mile. So it just like blasts out this vision. Who knows what it is, what impact it might have. Events, it essentially just opens up and regenerates everything. If it ever took any damage at all, like, it's indestructible. So just all that's gone. And then finally, it just casts a doorway and it returns to some previously known location. It shows up and it disappears. This is not a monster to fight. This is a monster to encounter and to experience. So our players are in a dungeon, they open a door, and inside is just this dark room of cobwebs everywhere, and sitting on this pedestal is this Mainframe. It could tell them something for the campaign. It could reveal some disaster that's imminent. You know, it could do really anything because it's a Mainframe. It has been calculating for eons, and it usually shows up in times of calamity and disaster. So our players are wondering what the heck this is, what's going on, and then all of a sudden it just vanishes in a doorway and it's gone. What the heck? Like, what was the whole point? That's the key. What was the whole point of having this encounter with this Mainframe? Why did it happen? When it comes down to the Mainframe, it comes down to the Devil Dust, the Angel, or the Child of Aztoth. You wonder, how am I going to do this? How am I going to change this monster to make it more usable in my game? And I have to tell you, like, try not to. Try to take these monsters and drop them in as is. Trust that these monsters serve a different purpose than just combat, and trust that you can use them in a way that will be more impactful, more memorable than just a combat or just killing your players. These monsters could kill your players, but do they have to? No, not at all. They can do something different. They can serve that higher purpose. My challenge to you is that look at the Index Card RPG Monster Manual. It's one of the best. It has such a variety of monsters that are so unique and so different than what we're used to in other monster manuals that it would be a shame not to include these and give your players the experience of encountering them at some point in their game. Take a look at them, come to terms with how they work, what they can do, and try it. Try them. Try it in a one-shot if you're really worried about it. Try it in a narrative way. Try to include them as NPCs rather than just enemies to fight. That way you can drop these broken monsters in your game and have them be part of the story you're telling at the table without having to be squeamish about them just showing up and casting judgment on your players and they're gone. But what do you think? What monsters have you included? Have you included any of these monsters in your game? And if so, how did it go? If you haven't, which monsters would you want to include in your game first or have been hesitating to include? Let me know about those in the comments, and I'd love to hear your game table stories as always. But for now, it's going to be back to the kiln for more projects and all the fun things we've got going on at our game tables.